how do you shop your business insurance? There's a lot of false narratives out there. If you do the whole entire package with me, right, you're going to get a better deal. They want to see if the juice is going to be worth the squeeze. They want to see if there's enough premium there for them to be competitive. And yes, it's obvious. Everybody wants to save money when it comes to insurance. Welcome back to the show. Today, we're going to talk about shopping for insurance like a pro. So one of the things that I really want to talk about and emphasize, especially if you're a business owner, is how do you shop your business insurance? There's a lot of false narratives out there that, there's this specific technique or somebody has, better access or better relationship, or if you do the whole entire package with me, right, you're going to get a better deal. And I'm going to tell you why that's not true. And all in all, give you some tips on how you can go about this and how you can be successful at getting the best possible quote that you get by doing a few of these key things and not going down, this rabbit hole of year after year and just getting back and not winning. Let's get into it. So let's talk a little bit about the false narrative of, well, it's better if you keep your cards close to your vest and you think that someone is going to give you a better price because of it. And I get it. Like that in normal everyday shopping, people have this mindset where, hey, if you don't tell people, what you're going to be paying, then, they're just going to naturally give you a good price. And I know that's just human nature to think that way, but that's the completely wrong way to think about this. When people are looking to evaluate your business, i.e., say an insurance company, they want to look at the whole entire picture. They're looking at the risks that they're taking. They're looking at the premium that you're actually paying, and they're taking all of that into consideration. And you're saying, okay, well, Charles, but why would I want to tell them what I'm paying? Don't you think that's going to make them, be a lot more aggressive? But the reality is that they want to see if the juice is going to be worth the squeeze. They want to see if there's enough premium there for them to be competitive. All of these companies have a number that they have to hit. They have to assume risk based on the business that they're taking on. And they need to make sure that they collect enough premiums, to be able to cover losses, not just for you, but for everybody that's buying insurance from them. So a lot of times I get this and I run into this where people say, you know what, I don't want to, I shouldn't have to disclose that. Well, a lot of times you don't have a choice. So if you're going out there and you're shopping, with someone else, say you find somebody you like and you just want to test the waters and see what's available. But if you don't want to give them all of the information, how do you really expect them to do their job, let alone be able to present information to this insurance carrier that may potentially really be interested in your business, but doesn't have all the information. So therefore, they don't think you're being completely upfront with them, and they think you might have something to hide, and they don't want to waste their time. So guess what? You're not going to be getting the best quote that you possibly could have gotten because you're not willing to share information. And even though this is a natural propensity, for people to do because they think, hey, if I show my cards, that's giving me a disadvantage, it actually gives you more of an advantage because you're having the ability to show people, not only that you're transparent, you have a good program in place, you have a good, attitude, towards the way that you shop for insurance. And you're not just looking at insurance to pick up the tab, when things go wrong. They want to know that they're going to be taking a good risk. And it's something that you have to have. You never know, when you're going to have a claim, right? It could be something that's completely outside of your control. So, a lot of these companies know that inherently they are taking risk by, taking on to your business. So the more consistent you are and the more transparent you are, the more transparent they're going to be. And I've known this because I've been doing this for 15 years. And I don't know how many times I've gone to shop for someone and they don't want to give me all the information. The second thing that I just want to drive home, it really kind of makes me like just scratch my head because I have to explain this to people. So if you are going out to shop your insurance with someone else other than your current representation, how are they going to be able to do a good job for you or get you a competitive bid if they are not on the same playing field as your existing broker? So think about this. He already has all the information that people are asking for. So when he's going to his markets that he's shopping for, then he already has all the information anyway. So he's giving full transparency to these particular carriers who require all this data being presented because he already has that information. He has your claims history, he has, all of the information of what you paid last year, the last 2 years, the last 3 years, the last 4 years. I mean, I can go on and on and on. Depending on how long you've been with this firm or this individual, they already have all that info. So if you don't think that they're going to these carriers with all of that information and presenting that and getting quotes based on that, then how do you expect someone else to be able to go to any other carrier and not present that same information and be able to get you quotes? And I know it's a common misconception because inherently, I'm going to reiterate it, it's just human nature. You think that if you keep your cards close to your vest, that you're going to get a better deal because they're going to come out and somehow just undercut the market. Well, these people have been doing this a lot longer than people think. And they don't get into business, just like you're not into business, without understanding their own business. And if you're going to go and be with a carrier that is just going to just shoot out quotes for the sake of shooting out quotes without evaluating all the information, I would strongly recommend that, you really think twice about doing business with a carrier like that, because that goes to show that they're not doing the due diligence. And if they're not doing the due diligence on you, then they're not doing due diligence on everyone else. So anyway, just some food for thought. And a lot of times what people don't really understand, especially in this business, is that people are, in a sense, they are inherently shooting in the dark, right? They don't necessarily know, what's going to potentially happen. A lot of times what I find in, say benefits is that, yeah, I mean, when people are underwriting, I mean, they can't tell, who had what service done or, how much claims are going to be. All they can really do is see what your renewal came in at, right? And if the renewal is relatively low, then that's pretty much a good sign that you're performing pretty well with that current carrier. And that's going to give people more motivation, to come in a little bit more competitively. But if your renewal is bad, then, generally speaking, that means that, you used a lot of the insurance. I mean, it's really like just any other business, right? They have to have the ability to, manage their costs. And the idea is that they are taking, right, premiums in, and then they're paying out for the losses. So the idea is to take more premium than what they're paying out collectively. So these are some things that I think people kind of lose sight of, and they kind of marginalize. And I mean that word, marginalize this business is kind of a very transactional thing. These people are looking at your company, your industry, your demographic, what you've paid in the past. They're looking at your losses, and they're trying to evaluate, what this risk is worth. And yes, they want to be competitive, but ultimately, the idea of insurance is to pay for unforeseen loss. So if they're looking at, a particular company and they have a lot of losses and there's a lot going on, then it would just make natural sense that they have to charge more. But on the flip side, if you're operating, very well and you're not costing, your existing carrier, a lot of money because you're doing well and you have a good history, it gives them more of an incentive to pick up a business like yours. And this is where it really comes down to who the person is that you're trusting to shop this insurance for you. So if you trust your broker over the long term, that's great. I mean, that's what we all want. We want to build trust and rapport. You want to make sure that that person is constantly going out, to the marketplace and evaluating what's available, because you never know. There might be a new carrier that comes in town, or there might be somebody who is performing better than someone else, and there might be an opportunity to reduce cost. But that really boils down to the person that you're trusting to do this for you. So you want to make sure that you're working with somebody who has, full transparency. a lot of times they're not going to come back with, 10 or 15 quotes. If the quotes aren't competitive, then you know what? Ask for a list. Hey, where did you go? I went, to these particular markets and, they came back and said they weren't going to be competitive. Here's two or three that are pretty close. If it's a service issue, that might be something that weighs out on your decision, on whether or not, you decide to go with, one option or another. But really, what you're looking for is just to make sure that, whoever that you're working with is going out there. But I get it. It's really difficult when, all that's happening is that, the last minute comes around and somebody's popping in a quote and it went up XYZ%. Nobody seems to like, think about, oh, well, when it goes down, I mean, everything's great. And maybe they just generally get excited. But one of the things that I will say, though, is that the last thing I want to leave you with is how much time are you actually taking to shop for your insurance? I mean, this is something that if your renewal date is in a month, you're already behind the eight ball, in my opinion, right? You want to be looking at this stuff, minimum 60 days, but preferably 90 days out. Set a reminder. You need to be reaching out to your representation, even throughout the year, especially if you have things going on, so they can have a good idea of what you're looking to achieve and what you're looking to accomplish. And yes, it's obvious. Everybody wants to save money when it comes to insurance. But when you really need it, when there is a situation or a claim, don't tell me you don't feel good when you know that there's a policy to be able to take care of that claim, no matter how big it is, right? Depending on what your limits are. But what makes sense is that you are actually looking at this thing, for what it is. It's just like any other business out there, right? The idea is that they want to stay profitable. And if they continue to stay profitable, then that's a good thing because they can continue to pay out claims. So that being said, there's a couple of things that, I just really want to reiterate. Number one, be transparent, share information. I mean, it's just part of the process. It's part of the underwriting process. It's carrier requirements. They're not going to release a good quote for you if you're not being transparent with them, number one. Number two, if you're wanting to make sure that your current representation is doing their job, okay, if you get to that point and you want to engage with someone else to shop for you, then make sure that you're being as transparent with them as you know that your current representation has. If they have all the information already, how do you expect the person that you're going out there to find competitive bids for you outside of your current representation to do their job effectively and really work hard for you if you're handicapping them and essentially tying one hand behind their back? And the third thing I want to reiterate and just kind of close out today is give yourself enough time. These policies are coming up every single year. Don't wait to the last minute. Waiting to the last minute is not a very good strategy, no matter what it comes to, especially in this, because you want to make sure that you have enough time to do the due diligence that's necessary to get you the result that you want. If you found this episode helpful, share it. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Maybe another business owner, maybe somebody in management that, has complained about insurance in the past. And I highly encourage you to subscribe because we're going to be talking about not only these things, but other things in business and things that is relatable to, being in business for yourself and just dealing with, some of these things on a daily basis that are an expense, but you're just happy to know when you have it, when something happens. So if you're interested in learning more, as I mentioned before, you can subscribe. You can find us on Hey Charles Biz on YouTube, Hey Charles on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and Charles Ernst on LinkedIn. See you next time.